So it seems sometimes the world has it a little bit backwards. Sometimes the emphasis seems to be with great importance on money, monetary energy, whereas it's a little bit peculiar and interesting to be able to acknowledge that attention is also spent. Attention is also used and utilized, and every single day it replenishes and renews. It's like an asset that you get back, that you get to have again, once again. Every single day you get attention, you get a full spectrum, and you get as many hours of time that you are awake. That's the amount of attention that you get. And you get that, and it's replenished every single day until you go to sleep again. And so every single day you've got that attention. You have 172 minus 77 100 seconds every single day. Just kidding, I have no idea where that equation came from, but you have so many seconds every single day. Let's say you're awake for 12 hours. Let's do the math real quick. Okay, 60 minutes times 60 seconds. 60 seconds times 60 minutes, that's 360,000 seconds or something like that. 60 seconds times 60 minutes. 60 seconds, times 60 minutes, that's 3,600 seconds per hour, right? So that's, and then you're maybe awake like 8 hours a day. I'm not going to do that a full equation, but there you go. That's basically the equation. I don't have a calculator in front of me for that one right now, and I don't have one of those brains. Anyways, yeah, that's about it. So you have that many attention seconds to invest every single day. Every single day, you can invest that attention, or you can throw it in the gutter. What's hilarious is that people love money. They love money, and they don't want to lose money, and they don't ever want to give it away, and they think it's crazy that to waste money on investing. They'll never give money away to investing because they want to actually throw it away on other things that is not investing. It's very ironic. This whole conversation is ironic, I guess, to begin with that in mind, but it's a little bit backwards, all around, backwardsness, because investing money offers the opportunity to get more back in return, which is a little bit ironic because otherwise it's spent and it doesn't ever come back and be returned. But yet people are hasty and don't want to ever invest because they want to spend it and waste the money, which is ironic. But then again, it's very important, and they don't want to ever give money away outside of themselves because which has to do with investing, even though it gives to greater importance into the world. So it's just a little bit backwards because that actually has to contribute to a greater good for the world, as opposed to in an ideal sense, as opposed to spent on things that have to do with the self, just the self, and they're kind of sometimes somewhat self-centered items that are also kind of like wasted items. Basically, in a basic sense, a lot of people spend money on things that are wasted items. They're thrown away in many instances, and it's just wasted items. But they really don't want to ever give it away. They don't want to lose it. They don't ever want to give it away. Even $1, even $2, like to give away to someone, it's not about giving to someone else. It's about not wanting to lose the money significantly, when it's ironic because at the same time, that money is always lost. It's typically, consistently, conceptually always lost for this same reason, because it's not invested. And that's what is, in essence, the meaning of that. Because it's not invested, it's lost. That's the meaning. That's the meaning by definition. Because it's not invested, it's lost. That's the inference. Because it's not invested, it is lost. And it is almost never invested. Many times out of the amount of money that people get in circulation to themselves, they spend it on things where it is not invested, and therefore it is lost. So, as opposed to, with that in mind, because people are very hasty about not wanting to give money away, which tends to be an investment, ironically, an investment one way or another, because even it's just is that way ultimately, and so it's ironic because that's an investment. But at the same time, attention is the second aspect of assets that is given away. It's given away, and it is thrown in way different weird directions all the time. Attention is a unique asset that is completely not looked at as an asset. Typically it's not looked at as an asset, and so typically it's wasted in a way different way, in a way different format. You can ask people for their attention consistently. You cannot ask people for their money. You cannot say, hey, can I have some money? But you can lean right over to very many people all across the world every single day and ask them for their attention, and they will give it to you. Literally, it is an asset, and they will give it to you. They have so many seconds every single day, and all those seconds can be invested and correspond to compounding, collaborating, compiling energies in the form of attention is what I meant to say. And that energy can continue to compile and have compound interest, especially in entrepreneurship. That's what entrepreneurship and spiritual finance is geared towards, in terms of developing greater purpose and giving to the global giving world and to the global giving financial philanthropy energy, global giving grid that connects all human beings, in terms of philanthropy energy that connects all human beings in the world. That has to do with something that has to do with entrepreneurship, which has to do with like a transformer suit that you get when you are following entrepreneurship paths of trying to have one consolidated focus of problems and consistent sets of problems to be able to solve for the world as a whole, at large, whatever you want to call it, because that has to do with consolidated focus, which is compounding focus and compounding consistent linear focus on a consistent one-way linear path that has to compound on itself to be able to continue to grow that process, to continue to try to add value in that line, in that linear fashion that has to do with compounding growth. Similar to investing, because investing and investments have to do with the company, that has to do with energy typically, that is trying to compound and consistently with consideration continue to compile and compound growth in a specific linear aligned fashion. And you're investing in an entrepreneur typically for them to be able to have that linear focus and mindset to be able to compound growth and attention as it is in a typical sense. But on the other hand, on the flip-flop side, is the idea that you can ask people for their attention and they will give it to you is very unique and uniquely interesting, and it shows an open gap in the marketplace, in the world, for just attention, especially on the street, especially outside. That's a unique, if not one of the open spaces in attention in this day and age, is in terms of just literally outdoor attention, necessarily. Not to say it doesn't have its own little quorums or quaffs and such things. The whole purpose of mentioning it is that it's free, and people don't want to give away money, but they'll give away attention. That's the bottom line, and it's very unique and interesting. The purpose of even trying to transition that into a greater concept is that, in essence, it has to do with assets, and it also has to do with health, like spiritual health, spiritual finance health, because there's only so much time in every single day that's time to be invested into assets that should be invested in the self, which then therefore also has to do with investing in like an entrepreneurship process, which has to do with the global philanthropy energy grid, which has to do with aligning with those things to be able to do that alignment and get the greatest benefit of happiness, as well as giving to the world, as well as consistent turnaround and turnover in terms of philanthropy energy that gives back to the world, in terms of investing energy, in terms of learning energy that's compounding asset energy, turning the human energy into asset energy, has to do with aligning with entrepreneurship, which has to do with aligning with a certain energy that has to do with aligning with the greatest productivity, aligning with the greatest fulfilled potential of a human being and their soul and their purpose and their desires, and something called an ikigai, which is a connection of very many energies in the world that has to do with industry and business, that has to do with the human's potential or human potential that can file in with given potential energies that exist already in the world. And by doing that, it allows for not other things, similar to when your money is tied up in certain things. It allows it to not be wasted on other things. It allows it to, if your money's invested, for example, it allows it to not be wasted into other things. And so it's the same thing with attention. In essence, if your attention has a side hustle that is entrepreneurship that can be wrapped up into positive elements and items, in essence, then therefore it cannot be wasted. It cannot be wasted and given to other people and other things that can make you feel bad, for example. There's plenty of things in the world that can make you feel bad, but garnering and honing in and having attention that is aligned allows for attention every single day to be invested, as opposed to lost and goes into liabilities. And therefore, not only does it cause better happiness, but it causes for not waste to happen, and that waste can also not turn into negativity, therefore, and not turn into negative attention, or not turn into negative attention or negative thoughts or negative things that contribute negatively to negative spiritual finance health aspect, in essence, because of that purposelessness of attention and that certain carelessness of attention, not using the plate of attention that's given every day, a plate of attention every day, to be able to try to invest that to a certain degree within a certain element of control that then therefore allows it for that energy and that sort of human energy to stay within a certain wavelength of positiveness and certain element of focus and such things, to be able to consistently try to stay in line with something similar to like an investment in essence. So as opposed to having dreary and derogatory and negative and downer energies necessarily, and other people that complain around you necessarily, and them being able to hog and take your attention necessarily, and them being able to tap into your attention necessarily, because it's able to be easily taken away, just because it's not as prized of an asset as money asset energy is. Money asset energy is much more prized. The perceived value of monetary money energy is much higher than it is for attention energy, whereas it's backwards. It seems to be backwards, that attention energy is much more valuable because that contributes directly to health, and health has to do with directly with the core thing driving the ship that is the human being, the human body, the human vessel in essence, and that attention is what's driving that, and the attention has to do with health. It's a direct connection to spiritual finance health. Spiritual finance health is the machine that controls the spiritual finance asset, which is the body in of itself. It has nothing to do with money. Money has nothing to do with a human soul or a spirit, because it has nothing to do with being born and having money have anything to do with that figment, that made-up energy of monetary energy. It has nothing to do with a human being or a human being's soul. So therefore, attention is the thing, the asset that taps best in to the human soul to be able to develop focus on spiritual finance health. Spiritual finance health. So every day that plate of attention is spent into assets, asset energy, asset friends, asset focuses, asset learning. So even if you're not earning in the entrepreneurship space, you're learning. That's the opposite asset energy to continue to be able to be in. So even if you're failing, you're learning. You don't earn money. You're not doing the best possible, which is kind of like earning money is like a reward for being good and such things. But if you're failing, you're still learning. And so therefore there is no loss, because you're learning or earning. And that's with your attention. If it's invested in attention, as opposed to other people that are negative, being able to take that attention and take advantage of that attention, and then therefore be able to use it for their own guise and their own processes, which is outside of one's best interest, because they're not seeing the attention as a high perceived value, and putting it before money energy value necessarily. And so therefore, but directing it directly to health, that has to do with health and such things, to be able to have perceived human value before and without money having anything to do with anything, without social status or money, which is sort of correlated to that, having anything to do with humans' intrinsic value, because that should come directly from attention being able to be invested into the entrepreneurship realm, which has to do with fulfilling the greatest potential, which is the fulfilled potential, as opposed to the unfulfilled potential of humans, which is can conceptually be experienced from not being able to, not investing attention, meaning not learning or earning from attention, and having at least a side hustle in entrepreneurship to try to better the world with philanthropy energy. Focusing on philanthropy energy is the way to invest attention, and that therefore leads to health. Which has to do with certain aspects of certain energy states and statuses, to be able to live longer times, and have a mindset that's consistent into later ages in life, and it is correlative directly to aging with a positive sense, because that mindset in essence transitions into later life and later times in later life as well. And in terms of having conversations with people, in terms of having the potential for potential longevity technologies and such things in the world, telling older people now that certain aspects of technological advancements that have been happening in terms of AI and such things, that hopefully are able to predict longevity and longer life potential through technology in like certain aspects of potential that's hopefully unfolding through the potential of life extensions and such things, to be available, to be able to tell older people now, to give them those mental assets, to focus on the potential of existing and greater longer time, to be able to hopefully be able to live, to be able to tell them. So if there is negative later times in life thoughts, negative thoughts for later times in life, that those can hopefully transition into conceptual hope by focusing on those assets, those conceptual assets, of focusing on items that can be assets in the future for where the technology is going, and in terms of assets that they're able to conceptually be able to connect with in terms of health tech, and such things of this nature for as time goes on, so that older people have better hope and better mindsets and better attention assets to invest in on a more consistent basis. Yeah. Welcome to the news. Anyway, super long introduction. That's not even necessarily an introduction. I don't know where it is. We're almost at the end of the podcast necessarily, but we'll try to transition it into what was supposed to be the first item for the podcast today, which is and has to do with. And yeah, please tell. Hopefully the health technology can come true, to create longevity so people can live 1,000 years and plus and such things, and that older people can start to learn about it and start to develop mental assets and hope revolving around this, regardless of what the ailments may exist, because hopefully there's conceptual treatments in health tech for these types of things, for greater and longer, more hopefully sustained, like helpful lives, to be able to improve human conditions and such things. That'd just be really something to drive home. So to flip from that into the thing which was the first item into today, or meant to be the first item in today, is we've improved and hopefully made an interesting and a unique and a significant and a fun and unique game. A vehicle from the past vehicle that we've called a spread stick many times, a spread stick, which is the two-wheeled vehicle. A two-wheeled vehicle that has shocks and is very interesting and is like an alpine slide in essence, but the essence of today, because the way that this actual podcast actually started, which is kind of a misnomer, it doesn't really matter necessarily, but it started with the hovercraft skateboard, and that is today combining with the spread stick, sit-down, alpine slide, scooter board, as we're continuing to develop, continuing to do Hogwarts engineering, continuing to try to do continuous Hogwarts engineering, where we're developing projections of engineering, considering connecting with ChatGPT and other conceptual consultants and such things to try to develop and drive awareness, at the same time of developing products and pre-selling products, and pre-selling this as a plate. This is a plate that we're selling it, and then we're buying and we're selling and we're buying, and that's what this plate is. This plate is the spread stick hovercraft spread board. Basically, that's what it is, the new term for what the main item is that we've been trying to develop for the last few days and focusing on flying skateboards and such things, is a hovercraft with wings. It's a spread board spread stick. Basically, that's the basic name, outline of the codes, whatever code names, whatever it's meant to be, but that's the basic outline in essence of this spread stick skateboard hovercraft. It's a sit-down item though, and you lean back like an alpine slide in essence, but the handles are more so like a recumbent bicycle, and at the same time it's a hovercraft with wings in essence, and that's sort of the completion of the design that we've been trying to get at for the last few days, for whatever reason, because standing on it is cool. It is definitely an interesting, ideal vibe, realistically, and having a formation of the actual, like an outlier from that design to be a standing item is definitely still in the docket, in the cards, in the processes for developing something of that nature. But the first and hopeful conceptual functional-ish vehicle that can just come out from our brand in the functionalist sense, from existing products that already exist in this fashion, to be able to develop the coolest first product that's hopefully coming together, is the spread stick hovercraft with wings. Sit down. It should still have two wheels underneath it, like the spread stick originally was supposed to, without the hovercraft with wings on it necessarily, but that will be the suit in essence to go around that as like almost like a coach vehicle in essence. So it can still conceivably have wheels in essence, conceivably have the wheels on the bottom. It won't be even full hovercraft necessarily like hovercrafts usually are, but this will be like a hovercraft also with conceptually, and hopefully the wheels can pop out from the bottom and it can still run in its all its glory like it's supposed to in this fashion, if we can continue to get the design continually and conceptually updated, because it's based on existing items that already are out there, and have a functional, interesting, fun and functional sort of prototype. Sometime we'll see how it goes, because it's still very difficult to put it all together. But on paper, it's very fun. Anyway, moving down from that, it actually makes the world into an amusement park. it makes the world into like an amusement park with this vehicle in existence. So basically, talking about today was a big theme was like focusing on amusement parks, missing a lot of the childhood aspects of amusement parks. Also having an interest to connect with like childhood friends. I still have like a Facebook a profile that's online, that's on the internet, that's connected to a lot of old people from a lot of time from the past times past with people that have been out there for a long time, and I just haven't connected so many years, almost actually ever since being connected on those internet profiles. And it'd be really interesting to try to circle back and connect with those childhood vibes again necessarily, because we're just finished this vehicle, and this vehicle is like a symbol of hopefully being able to switch around and have something fun to be able to conceptualize talking about with those fine folks from the past and such things, and to try to circle around and maybe connect a little bit and conceptualize with the people that I used to go to amusement parks with back in the day, back in the old days, back in past times, and conceptualize, considering circling around with some of those people. And at the same time, that thought and that consideration spawned the concept of an application where people can get together, and people can get together through little groups that are formed where conceptual trips that are formed, and conceptual trips that can form, and conceptual times can spawn and spurt and span around different, unique, interesting trips that can take place all around the world. That could also be kind of a cool Facebook group, to be quite honest. But this application can just be just for specific friends, where you tune in to almost like your own little social media groups, and you have different groups that want to make different trips necessarily. And it's almost like something that can even be like a plug-in to Facebook groups, so that they can make different trips for their different groups. Like, so you have physical IRL trips as opposed to just sitting online all the time necessarily, but having IRL physical trips become more of a thing all around the world, because this can also transition into voluntourism and creating more philanthropic energy around the world, because voluntourism is a significant thing to have happen around the world all the time necessarily. And that's the purpose of the spreadboard, hoverboard, skateboard, whatever you want to call it, with wings situation. That's pretty cool, I guess you could say. And having those types of vehicles, that DINKY Tech has the aspiration and the inspiration to want to develop IRL, in real life vehicles, to develop more philanthropic energy, and more means to develop more philanthropic energy by having physical motion above ground, above the earth, so more games can be played, and this specific vehicle is like making the world like an amusement park, because you can fly up and around and down, up and down, and such things. It might require a waiver to be able to just purchase one of these things necessarily, but that's okay perhaps to begin with, because these other vehicles do already exist, and I think those already probably do require a waiver as well. But we're just adding a little bit of a land vehicle aspect to it that's a little bit more unique, and actually condenses the design a little bit, and it changes the design a little bit, which is kind of cool. So hopefully that waiver can just transition over to us, basically. But then it therefore makes the world into an amusement park as well, actively by our first vehicle, because this has an up and down effect where you can go up in the air a little bit at a time and such things, similar to a flying vehicle, so like a flying motorcycle in essence. But it's very unique, and I'm very hoping that we can just try to get something of a prototype actually happening outside of this podcast. But who knows, it might live in the podcast for quite some time. We'll have to see, and I hope not. We'll have to let you know and such things. But yeah, we're working on that, conceptualizing these engineering in quotes, conceptualizations on the most frequently as possible. Anyways, that application that could develop trips, that could develop this, it could connect with this amusement park world mindset, which everybody that likes to connect with their childhood friends, to be able to continue to make trips like when they were children, like many times when you're children, little trips are made, little outings, little field trips they were called, are made for the purpose of getting kids outdoors, for the purpose of kids to see different interesting things, for the purpose of kids to do different weird little items and such things, little weird adventures and such things, whether it's a museum, whether it's a little trip here and there. It's to get them out of school, it's to get their blood moving when they're primarily in school, when they're primarily focused on one thing or another. And that is the purpose of this application, is like field trips for voluntourism. Field trips for voluntourism, because hopefully the energy that's created from these trips around the world, there could be conceptualizations and different notes, and different added notes can be added from different people to the different notes, to be able to take different field trips around the world can consistently help add to philanthropy energy, and inspire global giving philanthropy energy. It's like just like something called plogging. Something called plogging is like jogging and picking up trash. jogging and picking up trash, jogging and picking up trash. Something called plogging is jogging and picking up trash. So that can connect to a community that wants to plog together. They all go plogging and they all go pick up trash. But that can catch on so that other groups can make little plogging trips, and they can make them around the world. They can make little plogging trips out of a plogging group to be able to go do that in certain aspects where it's pretty around the world, and at the same time there's a lot of trash. But other people can join, and there's like different aspects of virality that hopefully can also connect to this application as well. So these little trips that can be made by certain groups can develop a shareable aspect to that, so that those also can be shared among the community that hopefully can be like hundreds of millions of people in an ideal sense, so that every single trip that's made by different people becomes like a code, similar to like a code on GitHub, basically like a code on GitHub that basically is like, it's out there, it's free form, it's open source, it's an open source trip for volunteerism, for other people to be able to follow in those places, and other people are able to then therefore use old trips that other people have made in the past, and then they can be inspired to make new trips. And hopefully volunteerism is a significant backdrop, energy, interest for the whole purpose of this kind of application regardless to begin with, because these fun things like blogging, like doing fun things that also have productivity on the back end can help change the world single-handedly, and can help add value to the world and the global philanthropy energy grid, And so let's transition to the end, which basically is talking about DINKY Tech content and music, sound, and such things making. We want to try to continue to make like a Taylor Swift brand, basically a Taylor Swift brand, like a back-end marketing process, and people hopefully that could be attached to that. That's sort of the goal. That's sort of the focus aspect of the chain, the daisy chain of the aspect of the business that we're trying to build in essence, and we're trying to focus on that aspect of the daisy chain, which is in essence the Taylor Swift symbol, the Taylor Swift business, which she compiled as the music promoting, the sound promoting brand, and it's also connected to plates of different energies being able to come together and putting different energies in different ways to be able to focus on different items of plates that are hopefully good and healthy for that type of business to be able to form, to try to help perpetuate foundational energy for plates on the back end, hopefully after the main part of the main business is formed, so that later down the line other plates can form off of the back end of the main business on the backside, and those plates have to do with the greatest, I guess, interest of the business for the whole world, for everybody's transformer suit in the whole world, for every 8 billion person people in the whole world to have transformer suits, and all of those transformer suits are comprised of and compiled of and made from and composed from plates. These plates are symbols for, in essence, for circles, which are in essence ventures, conceptual ventures, which people can add many ventures just if they have a logo. They just develop a logo, and then that therefore tells a story, a 3-part story. And anyways, on the top part of the plate, the word sale is written, and on the bottom part of the plate, the word buy is written, so that in essence you start with selling and you start with demand, and then the plate can continue to spin, and if you sell, then you can continue to buy, continue to sell, continue to buy, continue to sell, and it continues to spin, just like a hovercraft skateboard, type of a spread stick with wings. It's revolving energy, which the first episode of this podcast has to do with a hovercraft skateboard, which actually has an alternator so that it continues to power in a revolving and continuous cycle in an energy sense, in a philanthropy energy sense. We want to continue for this energy to revolve in a cycle, and we want to continue to try to build, and continue to try to actually maybe even send content every day that's made to 20 different people. We had watched a video that was inspiring from somebody else today that mentioned sending content, fresh content to 20 different people every single day. That is an aspiration. It's either 5 days a week, it might be 5 days a week, maybe, as opposed to 7 days a week. So 5 days a week, we'll make it 5 days a week now. I'll check in on it later as to what it's supposed to be, but it's supposed to be 5 days a week. 5 days a week to 20 people every single day. 20 people every single day to send new content to help grow the brand and grow the process, grow the virality, and grow hopefully the ability for such things like this to be able to span different talks, performances, and conceptual energy and chat distribution from this podcast and more music and more performance and more of the company that's like Taylor Swift's company on the front end, Taylor Swift's company on the front end that helps promote her sound, her brand, and all those things. Those are the foundational energies we're trying to put together as that little type of a company to try to push this along with the DJ's thing on the front end and the main business on the back end of that energy, of those foundational energies, to try to put that together, that Taylor Swift symbol of the her company brand, to be able to try to develop that foundational energy, to try to develop for everything else to be able to hopefully be able to work somehow with and to make the philanthropy energy grid, around the whole world. Thanks again, Dinky Tech. Bye.